Hello, welcome to Database Search Tips. My name is Peter Bremer. I'm a reference and instruction librarian at Briggs Library at the University of Minnesota-Morris. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some strategies to help you search smarter and more efficiently. Let's get started. Picking the right database can be hard. From the Briggs Library homepage, if you don't know what database to use, a good bet is clicking on Research Guides. From there, you can browse for the most appropriate subject area. For example, if you have an English class, you can go ahead and choose English from the list, and then click on Articles and Databases. You'll notice the middle column is listing the best English-related databases for your particular assignment. Let's go ahead and go back to the Briggs Library homepage for a moment. If you know what database you're interested in searching, you can find it in our A to Z list. We also have a few very popular databases listed below it. In today's short video, I'm going to be spending most of my time searching the database Academic Search Premier because it offers multiple subjects as well as scholarly and popular materials. I'll also be giving some sneak peeks in some other Briggs Library databases as well towards the end of the presentation. Let's go ahead and start searching Academic Search Premier. Once you're in any of our databases, oftentimes you can choose to search multiple databases simultaneously. In this case, if we click on Choose Databases, you'll notice we have a host of other databases we can search at the same time. There may be one for your particular research assignment that would be a good match. It's always a good idea to add EBSCO megafile to any search when you're using Academic Search Premier. And then we'll just say, okay. And now we'll be searching both those databases. Another good habit to get into is to use advanced search when using a Briggs Library database or a catalog. Using advanced search will give you more options and you'll be able to find materials quicker. Before you start typing in keywords, it's a good idea to do a little bit of brainstorming first. Think about your topic and what some of the best terms or keywords might be to express that. What is your research question? What are the important facets to your research? Are there terms that are similar that you could use in place of one another? Once you have a short list of possible key terms, now you're ready to start typing in some terms. Let's go ahead and type in domestic violence because that's an important part of our research area. And then I'm going to type in survivors. Now, if you have a phrase, you can always put it in quotes in most Briggs Library databases, and that will lock those words together. Let's go ahead and do a quick search and see what we get. From the results list, as we scroll down, you're going to notice we have quite a few, and some of these results may not be a great match for our research topic. And that is because we were searching everywhere for those terms. And so the results don't necessarily reflect what we really want. One thing you can do to have a more focused search is you can search for terms in particular areas. So from this dropdown, a couple of the really good ones are title as well as abstract. So let's say we want to search for the phrase domestic violence just in the title. I can go ahead and do a new search. And now we're going to get less results, but they're going to be more focused. Because if domestic violence, which is our big part of our research area, if that's in the title, chances are that more of these articles might be a good match for us. Another thing that we can do when doing an advanced search is we can change this and to an or. For example, in our brainstorming session, maybe you realize that another way of talking about domestic violence was using the term family violence. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in and put that in quotes, and then I'll add survivors as our third term. Now we can go ahead and search for family violence in the title as well. And if I do that, you're going to notice from the results list that both those phrases are going to be highlighted or bolded in those titles so we can see where they're appearing. Another thing that you can do is you could search everywhere for those terms, but we know what'll happen, right? The more broadly we search, the less focus we're going to have and the more results we're going to get, which can be overwhelming at times. A better way to search is to stay focused, but try different terms in different places. So for example, let's go ahead and let's change this back to and. Maybe we did some more thinking and we realized that our research is a lot more focused than maybe we've been reflecting in our search terms. Let's add a couple more terms to our search. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the term trauma and the term support, because I'm really interested in how domestic violence survivors can be supported through their trauma. All right, and so I'm going to look for domestic violence in the title. All right, so now if we do this new search, you're going to notice that for the first time, we have a more manageable results list. We've used terms that are more reflective of our topic. And now we can start to go through this particular list and maybe narrow it just a little bit more. One way that you can narrow and limit what you're looking at after a search is by using some of the refined features on the left. One thing you can do is if you notice, for example, that you have really old articles and maybe you don't want old articles, you can actually change the publication date here. So for example, let's say I didn't want articles quite this old, I could make this a little bit newer, okay? And if I do that, you're going to see that reflected in the results list. Another thing that you can do as well is you can change what you're looking at in terms of, is it academic or is it popular materials like magazines and newspapers? In this case, all of our results are already of an academic peer-reviewed nature, meaning they've been reviewed by experts in the field. So we don't need to change anything there. But another way we can limit after a search is using the subject or subject thesaurus. We're going to click on the subject thesaurus here in Academic Search Premier. And so if I go ahead and do that, and then I'll click on Show More, now we can browse for the topics or the subjects that are the best match for what we're actually interested in, okay? So I can go ahead and I'm going to check domestic violence, and I'm also going to check social support. Those seem like good matches for me. And now when I click Update, all my results are going to include either one or both of those particular subjects. Now we can start reviewing our results list. You'll notice as we scroll through, these are all academic journals. These are all peer-reviewed articles. You'll notice the title, we have our bibliographic information, we have our author, the journal it came from, publication dates. And if we actually click on the title itself, then we'll go into what we call the record. But this can be very helpful because besides the bibliographic information, you will also have other subject terms that you can search under and do a new search. And then you'll also have an author supplied list of keywords. Maybe these are keywords that you haven't thought of. And since they're supplied by the author, they're probably pretty helpful. And then below that, finally, we have the abstract or summary. Remember, we mentioned before, we have the ability to search the abstract and summary of articles. And this will give you a better idea of what the article's about and whether or not you want to actually find the full text. So let's go ahead and go back to our results list just for a moment. Okay, so we're back in the results list. Now let's actually see if we can find full text for one of these articles. It's always a good idea to go beyond the first page. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and we're going to take a look at that second page as well to make sure we're not missing some good articles. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, and let's see if we can find an article that is of interest to us. So maybe we're interested in this, the impact on informal supporters. So I'm going to go ahead, click on that title. I can look at that summary and abstract a little bit, see if I want to track down that full text. And maybe I read it and I say, yeah, I would like to see the full text. So there is no full text PDF link in here in the results list for this article. So what do we do? In this case, you can click on FindIt. FindIt will try to get you full text in a different Briggs Library database. And when I go ahead and click on FindIt for this particular article, FindIt comes back and tells us you're looking for full text. That is available in a different database called JSTOR, which is a Briggs Library electronic resource. It's all scholarly material and it's all full text. So all I have to do is click on that, and then I can go to that article directly. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go back to our academic search premier screen, and then I'm going to go back to our results list. Okay, so that's how we can find full text. Let's go ahead and go back to our first page, and we'll take another look at some of the articles that are there. So let's say we're scrolling through and you're looking for a good article, and maybe we run across one that does have full text, right? So maybe we're interested in this one here down at the bottom, which is the long shadow of family separation. So I'm going to go ahead and go right into that full text. So one thing you can do when you're in the full text of an article is you can mine it for keywords. You might run across keywords you weren't aware of. The other thing you can do as you're going through the article is you might ask yourself, what type of article is this? Because there are two main types of scholarly academic articles. One is a review article, which is really just talking about what other researchers have done. And the other type of academic article is called an original research article, or just a research article. And that's doing something new. It usually involves a study or an experiment of some kind. So as we scroll through this article, we can keep an eye out for whether it's a review article or if it's an original research article, because your professor may have you look for just one of those types, right? Or they may have you look for both. So as we scroll through here, we're looking for a method section, something that talks about a study or maybe a conclusion. And as we go through, we don't see that. And if we go back to the top, you can actually notice in this case, it actually says a review article. Now, this isn't always the case. Articles usually aren't this straightforward in terms of telling you what they are. But we know for certainty that this is just going to be a review article. Okay, let's do a little bit more looking at our results list. So let's look at another article now. So let's say we're interested in this domestic violence social support article. I'm going to go ahead and go right into the full text. And one of the first things we're going to do is let's see if we can identify what type of article this is. Is it a review article or is it a research article? We'll take a peek at it and we'll see if we can spot the differences here. So here we are in the full text of the article. So let's scroll through a little bit and see if we can determine what type of article this is. So we're scrolling through, we're looking at the article, we're picking up maybe some different keywords. And at a certain point, right, if we run across a method section, that's going to tell us that this is probably going to be an original research article, right? There's measures. If we scroll further, there's probably going to be a conclusion area. So we know this is original research. The other thing you can do is if you find an article that is a good match for your research, chances are that some of the articles and other materials listed at the end in the bibliography or sources cited list might actually be useful for your own research. So let's say, for example, that you run across an article that's listed in the bibliography here. And you want to try to track down, maybe you want to try to track down that full text to see if you can locate it elsewhere. So for example, let's look at this one here, domestic violence and mental health. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste that article title, and we're going to look in Google Scholar and see if we can find full text. This is often the easiest way to locate full text. We don't have to guess what database it's in. We can let Google Scholar do the searching for us. And so in this case, there's a PDF that's clickable right here. So we can go to that full text. If we wouldn't have had that full text link there, look for FindIt, because FindIt will automatically appear in Google Scholar if you're on campus. And if you're off campus, to enable FindIt to appear, all you have to do is go into the little 3 horizontal lines in the left-hand corner and then go to Settings. And then from Settings, Library Links. And if you don't see University of Minnesota Morris checked and enabled, you can search for it and then save it. And then FindIt will appear for you even if you're off campus. Let's go ahead and go back to our database just for a moment. Now, we've been spending most of our time in Academic Search Premier, but as I mentioned before, the search techniques that I've been talking about can be utilized in almost all of our other databases as well. So let me point out what that'll look like in some of our other electronic resources. If I click on Article and Databases again from the home page, I can go into a different database, let's say PsycInfo. Now this has content in the psychological sciences, and just like in Academic Search Premier, we can actually search multiple databases at the same time. So if I wanted to, I could click on Psych Articles, which is all full text. PsycInfo is just citations, but remember we have FindIt to get full text. And I can click on as many of these ProQuest databases as I want, and then I can search all of them at the same time. You'll see there's an advanced search option in here as well. We have the ability to look in different places, just like in Academic Search Premier. We have the ability, just like in Academic Search Premier, to say if we want peer-reviewed content or not, scholarly content. And there is also ways to limit and search by subject that are very similar to Academic Search Premier. Let's look at another library database just to give you one more look. Let's say you're in the sciences and you're using Science Direct. Science Direct has a lot of content in the different science fields. And it also is very helpful in that it will tell you upfront if you're looking at an original research item or a review article. You'll notice there's an advanced search option there. And if I click on Show All Fields, now I have even more ways that I can search in Science Direct. I can use the title, abstract, or author-supplied keyword field. I also just have the title field, and I can mix and match, and I can put my terms in here, and then I can do a search. So lots of different databases to search, but again, they can all be searched in a very similar fashion. As you find resources and start writing your paper, remember to cite your sources correctly and consistently, because that's an important part of being a good researcher. One of the tools that can help you do that is called EndNote, and that's bibliographic software that is provided by Briggs Library, and it can help you create bibliographies in a snap. It can also organize your research for you. And finally, if you have any questions about research, about finding materials, or citing, you can certainly reach out to myself, or any of my librarian colleagues, we have contact information via Ask a Librarian. We would be more than happy to help you at any stage of your research. I hope this video was helpful for you, and good luck with your research.